Year 5, Lesson 9, Extensive Challenge 2. Among the Year 6 students in a school, 60 like mathematics, 50 like English, and 42 like sports. 30 of them like both mathematics and English. 20 of them like both English and sports, and 35 of them like both mathematics and sports. If 18 students liked all three subjects, how many students have at least one favorite subject? So here we've got lots of information about three different subjects. So we can express this on a Venn diagram with three circles. Now, we know that there are 60 students in total that like maths. So I'm going to put that number outside the circle, as this includes any of those mathematicians that also like English or sports. Next, we've got 50 that like English, and we've got 42 that like sports. Again, these are the totals, so they go outside of the circle. I know that 30 students like both mathematics and English, but some of those students might like all three subjects. So the first thing that I need to put into my Venn diagram is those 18 students that like all three subjects. Now we can start to fill in the rest of the circles. So we know that 30 students like both mathematics and English. However, 18 of those students liked all three. So I'm going to subtract to find the 12 remaining that like just maths and English. We know that 20 like English and sports. However, 18 of those liked all three. So that leaves just 2 other students that like just English and sports. And finally, we know that 35 liked mathematics and sports. Okay, so we're going to subtract the 18 that like all three to find the ones that just like maths and sports. Next, because we've got the total for each of the sports, we can find how many students like each one, maths, English, and sports only. So starting with English, there's 50 students in total, but 32 of them like other subjects too. I found that by adding together the 12, 18, and 2 students that are in the middle of the other circles. So subtracting 32 from 50 gives me 18 students that like English only. I can do the same for maths. I've got 47 students here that like maths but fall into the other circles. So that leaves 13 remaining that like just maths, and 37 that like sports but also fall into other circles. So that leaves 5 remaining that just like sports. So now we've completed the Venn diagram, we can answer the question, how many students have at least one favorite subject? So I'm going to add together all of the students that I've got on the Venn diagram. I'm going to start with the 18 English students only, and then start to add them all together. The 12 that like English and maths, plus the 18 that like all three, plus the 2 at the bottom, plus the 13 that like just maths, and so on. And I've added these up in a bit of a clever order so that I can add them up using mental maths. We've got 30 plus another 20, that gives me 50, plus another 30 gives me 80, and plus the 5. So in total, we have 85 students. And that's the answer to our question. Now, we could also answer this question without working out all of these specific numbers using the principles of inclusion and exclusion. So we could start together to add together all of the students. We know that there are 60 mathematicians. Now we also know there are 50 English students, and we know there are 42 people who like sports. But remember that each of these numbers includes any of the students that like maths and English. And it also includes any of the students that like both. So for example, if a student likes maths and English, then they're going to be counted in this 60 and also this 50. So I need to try and subtract each of those students so that I don't count them twice. So I'm going to subtract. I'm going to use brackets here because I need to subtract the 30 students that like both maths and English, the 20 students that like both English and sports, and the 35 students that like maths and sports. However, in this case, we also need to consider the people that like all three. Okay, so any student that liked all three subjects has been counted in the 60, the 50, and the 42 that like each subject. And they've also been counted in the 30, the 20, and the 35 that didn't like, or that like 2 subjects. So we need to be very careful here that we count them at least once. or not at least once, exactly once. So you can imagine if we've counted them 3 times, then we've subtracted them 3 times, which means overall we haven't counted them yet. So I need to add on the 18 students that like all 3 to find my total number of students that have at least one favorite subject. So breaking this down into 3 parts, I've got 152 students minus the bracket, so that minus is 85, and then adding the 18 that like all 3. So that's equal to 170 minus 85. Okay, and that gives us exactly the same answer that we found using the Venn diagrams.